Took this thing apart and put it back together again a million times. Tried every type of power supply under the sun. When all we needed was a little energy directly from the source.
Ready, sir.
Aloha, this is Trinidad, the Island Man, your Island Man, coming to you live once again from beautiful Hawaii here on the island of Oahu, bringing you, yes you, the best movie reviews and TV show reviews on the entire island of Oahu. And yes, this is Trinidad, the Island Man, your Island Man, and well, I'm here to talk to you about a TV show, WandaVision, episode 7 and 8. 8 which dropped last night, Friday night, was very exciting. And I'm going to talk to you a little bit about episode 7, which dropped the week before, of course, which leads directly into this episode of episode 8. Now, essentially what takes place from episode 7 is that we get the Modern Family kind of sitcom wrap-up of all of Wanda's kind of sitcoms, kind of pretty much wraps up in this episode of episode 7. And we find her on her breaking point, pretty much having a nervous breakdown. She gives the kids over to Agnes to watch as she offers, and they go over her house, leaving Wanda there alone, since Vision has apparently left her. We find out in pursuit of trying to get out of the town, as we saw in episode 6. We find that he meets Darcy, and that they are able, he's able to free her from the mind control inside the town. And she catches him up onto speed for what is taking place in the town, so that he is now fully caught up, and he believes that it is Wanda all the way behind what is taking place here on in the town of Wstview. Wanda herself finally comes to a breakthrough. Wanda herself finally begins to realize that she can't control everything that's going on, whether it being consciously or subconsciously. Things are starting to glitch out. She's obviously having maxed out her ability by extending it beyond her control of the area, well beyond the city limits of Wstview, into the outscape of the city and well past the city limits, as we saw in episode 6 at the very end. Having realized that she cannot control this anymore, she is at her wit's end on what to do and how to fix things as she attempts to change things back. As you see things glitching in episode 7, the whole house, things going from black to white, like previous sitcom episodes that we had seen on WandaVision earlier, until Monica Rambeau comes in, having penetrated or decided to re-enter the town, causing cellular damage to herself. We see that her powers are initiated by this, as she has glowing eyes and begins to glow kind of a bluish tint, very much kind of like Wanda's reddish glow from her hands. Now in the comics, Monica Rambeau becomes a version of Captain Marvel, able to project light, become even light, travel at light speeds, etc. And we see as she penetrates the field of Wanda's power to enter the town again, her eyes are a indigo blue, and she can see into various light spectrums before shaking it off and continuing to go to Wanda's house, where she enters, confronting Wanda, and shakes Wanda back into reality, out of her funk. And Wanda questions, "Didn't I send you away?" And it's like, "Yes, but I came back for you, to help you. I don't feel that you're a threat. And if you don't change things," Monica says to Wanda, "then that director of S.W.O.R.D., Haywood, is going to pretty much nuke the entire town," is what she pretty much warns Wanda, making her the bad guy. Agnes comes and saves Wanda from having to confront with Monica Rambeau any further, dragging her off to her house. Wanda, we catch back up in right at the end of episode 6, we see that Wanda inside Agnes's house wants to know where her kids are. She's told that they're down in the basement, so she goes down to the basement to look for them, and we find that it is a torturous dungeon-looking place, and not the good kind of torturous dungeon that some suburban folk might have, but an actual medieval-style dungeon. And we see that Wanda is thus captured by Agnes, who reveals herself to be Agatha Harkness, a fellow witch, and jump right into episode 8, where we see starts right up in early American settlement times, in the Salem era of 1700s, 1600, 1650-ish or something. There in Salem, we see that Agnes is on trial, possibly sentenced to death, not by witch hunters as we might suspect at first, but by her own covenant. Her own mother, head witch, says that she has stolen forbidden knowledge from a sacred text, a sacred tome, a tome that we saw briefly in episode 7, chained up, emanating some type of magical power. The other witches fire and cast spells upon her, only to have their life force drained directly from them by Agnes herself, by Agatha. And finally, the head mother confronts her, tries to put her down. However, Agatha proves to be too powerful, sucking the life force, the power per se, from the head witch herself, her mother. Well, not her mother, but the mother of the covenant. And right from that moment, we see that maybe that's been her game all along, that she's going to suck Wanda's power out of her for herself. Agatha, during this time, during this time in Salem, says that she cannot control this power, that she did not break the rules, she only bent them to her needs, reading the sacred tome. A tome very much like what we had seen in Doctor Strange, the very first Doctor Strange, where, they had gotten perhaps the secret to immortality from Dormammu, where the key villains had gotten that from. Something very powerful from this tome, some type of spell, is what Agatha got, and her power is far beyond any other standard witch. But even when it comes to Wanda, she is amazed at her abilities. And that is what she confronts Wanda Witch with, and she says that she is calling her the Scarlet Witch, and that she wants to know the source of this incredible power that Wanda has to make it her own. Wanda, of course, is clueless with this, believing that her powers had come from the Mind Stone way back that we had seen in Age of Ultron, Avengers Part 2. Agatha / Agnes takes Wanda on a walk through her mind of her past events, starting as a small child, her and Pietro and her parents being killed in the bombing by the Stark munitions that was referenced in Age of Ultron. And of course, we see there that it happened while they were watching old reruns, tape versions of the classic sitcoms, Dick Van Dyke Show, Bewitched, etc. All of which is what Wanda mirrored this reality, this version of Wstview off of. Because that's where she felt safe, that's where she felt comfortable growing up. Those were the happy times with her family, her brother, her mother and father, sitting down on the couch watching these VHS tapes of old classic sitcoms. And so that's what she had always. We see her later, after Age of Ultron, sitting on her bed in Avengers Mansion, basically watching old reruns of sitcoms, say like the Brady Bunch, etc., Modern Family, with Vision, and that's where they had grown their bond together. We see a flashback to when she had joined Hydra, and we see that she was experimented on, not as the young child, but as the teenager with the Mind Stone, and that she was one of the only people to survive the Mind Stone's abilities. And it seems to have imprinted some type of power or knowledge upon her, unlocking perhaps her innate witch potential, as we find out that Agnes suspects that she had always had some type of witchcraft ability with her, a prodigy, perhaps a 1 in a million kind of person Wanda turns out to be, who can access this type of chaos magic she refers to it as. Thus, 1 in a million, born with some type of innate magical ability. They pretty much say and spell out mutant, that she was born with this power, unlike normal people, or your average person. Thus, without saying it, saying that Wanda's powers did not come from the Mind Stone, as we had suspected all along in Age of Ultron, but were amplified by such to a exponential level. And we also this also kind of hints that Petro did not get any powers or any abilities from the Mind Stone, that perhaps, his super speed is something that, just like she was born with. That is not gone into any further in episode 8, but it does make you wonder. If she had this innate ability at birth as a child, then we see that Petro, her brother, Quicksilver, does not seem to have any, does not get anything from the Mind Stone. Perhaps they'll show that in another point, but then that would mean that they are both mutants born with different powers that onset in their teenage years while they were with Hydra. And Wanda was the only one to have it amplified by the Mind Stone. At least that's what episode 8 directly shows us. So that's essentially where we leave it with episode 8. Agnes, after seeing all of this throughout her mind, Wanda's mind, pretty much holds her kids hostage, and Wanda can see them, and basically threatens her with wanting to gain and achieve that power. The other aspect of the story is with Haywood, the director of S.W.O.R.D. We see that all of this time, it is not like he said. Wanda did not steal the Vision's body. She did come to S.W.O.R.D. Requesting the body, but seeing him in pieces there, she left upset. We find out why she went to Wstview, because she had a deed given to her with hopes of building a new life with Vision. Possibly what we had seen in Infinity War, talk of settling down in this suburb. Vision apparently had gotten this property deed and was going to build a house for her. And that is where Wanda creates this illusion in the house that was supposed to be hers and Vision's. And we see her actually create Vision from her spell or from her own powers. It is not, as we had suspected, an animated corpse of Vision stolen from the headquarters of S.W.O.R.D. S.W.O.R.D. and Haywood, the director of S.W.O.R.D., still has that Vision and has put him back together. At least, the actual just android body. But they could never get him to work. And they suspect that is because they need the power source of the Mind Stone, and the only remnants of that is Wanda's power. And because in episode, 5 or 6, he attacks her with that Predator drone and the Hellfire missile. Thus, he imbues that Predator. She imbues that Predator with some power of hers, which apparently Haywood must have had some type of absorption field or something to suck that power of the Mind Stone from Wanda's blast at it, and feeds that directly into Vision, which animates the lifeless body of Vision. So we can't say this is Vision. This is just the android body of Vision being controlled now by Haywood to likely go in and destroy possibly Wanda, hoping to absorb the rest of her power, perhaps, or see what the source of this other Vision is that now we have seen that Wanda herself has created. All of this will come to a fruition and a ultimate climactic conclusion in the final episode this coming Friday, episode 9. 6 and 7 were about an hour, about 45 minutes. I am hoping that the season finale or the show's finale in episode 9 goes at least the full hour. At least an hour and a half is what I'm hoping for, possibly even 2 hours. I don't see how they could do anything less than an hour and a half and wrap up things enough to project into Doctor Strange and the multiverse of madness. What I suspect will happen is that there will be a fantastic fight between Wanda and Agatha. Meanwhile, Wanda's creation of the Vision will have to fight this golem that Haywood has made. Possibly Monica will get involved with her new powers, somewhere helping one of the two, possibly Vision, possibly Wanda, but she might actually have to fight off the false Pietro, as he is still going around and had probably likely captured her from episode 6 at the very end credit scene. And then finally, I suspect at the very end of episode 9, as a end credit scene there, we will have Doctor Strange come in and attempt to pick up the pieces, possibly with this tome. This tome may be getting opened as Agatha is getting defeated by Wanda. She turns to the tome for greater power to defeat Wanda, and that tome in itself and the entity, Nightmare, Mephisto, I suspect still Nightmare, far more than Mephisto, will likely split open, the multiverse, thus causing everyone to go mad, and thus Doctor Strange will have to come in as the Earth Sorcerer Supreme to put things right once more. But overall, I find it very fascinating that, the first superheroes in America were the witches around Salem, as we see them doing superhero-y stuff with their spells, and that Agatha Harkness was indeed one of them, spurred on by even greater power from this tome that she had stolen from the Covenant. Very much like a Doctor Strange first movie, that we had seen that tome being stolen by, that one guy with the burnt out eyes working with Dormammu. All right. Thank you so much. This is Trinidad, the Island Man, your Island Man, again giving WandaVision a Shaka thumbs up for episodes 7 and 8. Definitely can't wait to see episode 9 and how it kind of leads into, as it must, for Doctor Strange and the the multiverse of madness. Doctor Strange and the multiverse of madness, which is again, a play on the Mouth of Madness, kind of a John Carpenter flick, which was again very twisty in the mind, which we suspect this Doctor Strange movie will be, and as I suspect the final episode of WandaVision will be as well. All right, thank you so much, and aloha.